right. Episode number 10.
10.
Episode
Let's
number
go.
10, bro. Box to box, guys. Thanks for coming in.
go.
My name is Jose, joined by one of the mainstays of the show, Andre Gutierrez, aka Urban Dre, as I call him. We don't have Alina today. Not a huge deal. She's obviously feeling a little down under the weather today. So, we're happy to kind of pick the pieces up and keep this show rolling. Guys, episode number 10. If you haven't subscribed to Box or to GOLZ already on YouTube, please do so. It's free. What else are you doing? If you consume footy content, throw a little support our way, right? Subscribe to the show, throw a comment, a like, whatever you want on the video. Always happy to engage with our community. Now, moving past that, what we got on the plate for you guys today? Both MLS and Liga MX playoffs brackets set. The decision day was yesterday. We're recording this show on October 10th. So Sunday the 9th was decision day. A lot of crazy shit happened, but we're going to talk about how those brackets panned out. We're jumping into some of the results from this past weekend. European soccer and football just in full form. Ton of interesting results, some really big ones. Specifically, these guys. We'll talk about them. And I'm so pumped. I'm as you can tell, I'm almost rambling because I'm fucking excited from everything that happened this past weekend. But also a giant week for everything from Champions League to MLS playoffs to more European football. I can't wait. We got a crazy road between now and the World Cup. So, Andre, let's jump in, bro.
Let's do it.
Let's start with MLS and Liga MX. A lot of interesting results from this past weekend. Some guys who thought they were going to be in, not in anymore. It's kind of
and vice versa. Some teams that didn't think we're going to make it, fucking, LA Galaxy, dude.
Sometimes you need some help. Sometimes you need some help from other teams that are vying for those last spots, and you get it, and it just goes your way. And you weren't preparing for that playoff match, and now you are. It's kind of crazy.
It's true.
Let's start with MLS first. The brackets themselves across each conference really panned out in a big way. You mentioned LA Galaxy just a little while ago. We had both LA teams kind of make it through. Obviously, LAFC being the number one seed got that bye. So let's start with the West, right? Let me quickly kind of cover what it looks like from 1 to 8, and then we'll talk about some of the matches that we thought were going to happen, not going to happen, and kind of get into it. So from 1 to 8, LAFC, they got the bye at 1. And then we have Austin, which it's kind of crazy how far they've come, and we'll talk about it. And just a handful of seasons, they're number 2 seed in the West. It's crazy,
right? Yeah.
And by the way, I saw another crazy stat over the weekend. Austin FC I think they've only been around 2 years.
Yeah.
In the 2 seasons that they've been around, they have sold out every single home game.
It's wild,
every single one, including the one on decision day yesterday. So
and there was a lot of pushback.
They have.
There was a lot of pushback on Austin as a host city, because they're like, well, the only thing that they have is UT, and they're a football town, and I'm like, dude, we've
crazy, bro.
Back in my sports and entertainment days, when I used to cover events, we had a Cruz Azul Monterrey game at UT, sold out, and I told all the event organizers and shit, I was like, guys, this is a perfect venue, it's a perfect location, tons of that Hispanic culture. And
exactly, that's
what I mean, dude. Like the fan base is just like fully on board. I follow them on Twitter, bro. I'm not gonna lie, they're fucking
I do too, bro. And a lot of their fan groups, are so damn passionate. The content that comes out of that fan base is phenomenal. So
for sure,
Austin at number 2. I know they were vying for number 1 for a while, but dude, as much talent as LAFC has, it kind of makes sense that they should be number 1.
Yeah,
I was kind of expecting them to maybe slow down a little bit when you saw all of that transfer market activity in the middle of summer, kind of just going in and out.
And they did, right? They had a couple of slip ups here and there, but
yeah. But ultimately, they deserve to be in the number 1 spot. And look, the expectations are high for them, 100%. At 3, FC Dallas, kind of a homer pick for me. Obviously, growing up in that academy myself, I think that. I'm kind of surprised they're 3. Like, I think in summer I was anticipating maybe some slip ups here and there when they would drop some results to Real Salt Lake or to Minnesota. But all in all, a well-deserved 3. They're playing against Minnesota at 6 this coming Monday, which I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to go to the game or not. We'll find out. If I do, huge content grabbing opportunity between you and I. But so at Dallas at 3, Galaxy at 4, Ricky Puig.
Good boy.
At Nashville at 5, my boy. Minnesota at 6, I mentioned before, playing Dallas. And then at number 7, Real Salt Lake, who no one should be sleeping on. They still find ways to kind of pump out some of those hard-earned results. I don't think anybody's taking them lightly, especially Austin. So
I feel bad for Portland.
We'll kind of see how that pans out.
That's the one that we talked about. Like,
but like, they were too inconsistent this season.
Yeah,
just like Seattle. I mean,
No, I mean, the West is crazy.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the teams that, I mean, you covered it in terms of, it's great to see like an Austin, a Nashville, even you guys, Dallas in the playoffs. But the teams that didn't make the playoffs for the Western, to me, is almost more noteworthy, because when you look at like Portland, Colorado, Seattle, Kansas City, these guys are staples year after year, making the playoffs, going deep. Even Vancouver, they've been in there. So overall, like it just shows you how competitive the league is and how deep it is, right? When you have
the Pac Northwest, man.
Well, that's true. Cascadia Cup, no more. Like, I don't know, but it's time. I don't know. I kind of like it. I like that it's, honestly, it's kind of a rude awakening for them. I'm not gonna lie. I think, being here in Seattle, and I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this, but like the fan base started to become like accustomed to winning, and they're like, oh yeah, whatever. We're just gonna like, get complacent, and we won, CONCACAF Champions League and whatever. And like, I remember when they won CONCACAF Champions League, I was at the game, and people were already talking about like, give us the MLS Cup. I'm like, you still got to play.
Oh God.
And from March to, I would say, like April, May, even June, they were at the bottom of the table, like, or close to it. And so they were just never able to get back up. But anyway, I'm gonna rant about PNW soccer, but great to see the teams that did make it, though. It's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And I will say too, like for Seattle specifically, because you and I were both there for once upon a time. Just obviously consuming that fan base as much as possible. And it is a weird thing to say, like the first time in their history as a young organization, them not being in playoffs, with as amazing and passionate as their fan base is, it proves that whether you're talking about MLS soccer, if you're talking about European football, Champions League, whatever, any team, any club that is having to juggle multiple competitions, it just shows that it's tougher than most fans probably think that it is, to understand how to weigh, how to balance. And even on this show, we're critical of, I know I've been critical of coaches like Conte. Alina has been too, right? Where we say, oh, they don't really care about the cup competitions outside of the domestic league. Domestic league is the most important one. Yeah. I mean, there's merit to that argument, but sometimes you want to go after a trophy that you haven't won before. I feel like Seattle did that. They prioritized what they consider to be the bigger one. And unfortunately, they kind of paid the price for it, right? Not making playoffs.
It just goes to show you, right? Yeah, to your point. Makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the East, moving over to, Philly, who took the number one spot. And you mentioned before, how many games did they drop this year?
Only 5. They lost 5 games. That's it.
Dude, holy shit. Yeah.
I know. Think about
those games, Dallas.
It's true. That is true. 34 matches played. They won 19, drew 10, lost 5 games. Listen to this. Goals for 72. 72 goals for. The goal differential was 46. Montreal in second place. Goal differential 13.
Holy shit.
That to me is wild. And over the weekend they won 4-0. Like, it's not stopping in the playoffs.
With that said, if they crash out in the semis and in epic fashion, which it will be, considering how dominant they were in the regular season, I think there's always that pressure, bro. Anytime that you get at that first round bye, if you're not taking advantage of the fact that you have that, and you automatically, crash out in the semis before ever making to the conference finals or to MLS Cup, it's just it's all of it was great. All those, I'm sure that they had, this is probably one of the best seasons in the history of the club. Yet it would have been all for nothing. So we'll see how impactful that is for the Union. And then go ahead.
No, go ahead. We can cover them one by one, and then I was going to ask you who your dark horse is on these, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. 2, Montreal. You mentioned before how good of a season they had. 3, New York City FC, the defending champion.
To be expected.
To be
Both
expected.
New York teams.
4. Red Bull New York, the New York Red Bulls, and then we had 5, Cincinnati. I think it's their first time making it into playoffs. If I'm correct.
Yeah,
which is obviously a crazy milestone that I think was decided also on decision day. 6, Miami, which is, considering where Inter Miami were at one point, especially last season, they couldn't figure out how to put wins together, and how they started the season in kind of stumbling fashion was really interesting to kind of follow. And maybe Higuain, and the fact that this is his last season, he's retiring, that there could be a lot of motivation there for Inter Miami. And then we have Orlando at 7, who came in also kind of securing it on decision day. Yeah, bro,
beating Columbus. It's wild. They had to beat Columbus to get in. It was crazy. Yeah.
100%. So they're in, and I think that they still have an opportunity to kind of get that result against Montreal. But you were going to ask me what matchup am I kind of looking most forward to? Is that what it was?
No. Who your dark horse is to, like, for example, obviously has
Oh,
Philadelphia and Montreal as favorites, but who do you think is going to make noise in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference this year?
this one's tough.
I can tell you mine if you want. Well, you think
I
about it.
well here I think personally experience is super key, and this is probably
Yep.
even almost a layup to kind of pick on them a little bit. I think the Union have a lot of pressure on them.
Yep.
I would, depending on how the tie goes with Inter Miami, I think NYCFC would be, I say dark horse because they had those stretches throughout the season where they weren't as clinical as they were last season, obviously, right? And then it propelled them to MLS Cup. But
Yeah.
we always say it, right? Playoffs is not part two of a season. It is a whole new season.
Yep.
You take everything away from regular season and you move on from it. It doesn't matter anymore. You
Just
now
get
have
in.
to get the results and grind them
Yeah.
out. Just get in. And experience is everything for me. So I'm going to go ahead and piggyback on the defending champions. I think they find a way to get back to MLS Cup. From there, it's anybody's guess, though. What about you?
I've got a couple, but I'll put my eggs in the Miami basket. They were, I think they were like ninth a few weeks ago, and they continue to win. They continue to win out with Higuain at the helm. Playing in beautiful weather is going to be key, my guy. That's the one thing that people always forget about the MLS. Once you get into October, late October, early November, if you go play in a place like Philadelphia or New York City, expect snow, right? Like, it's going to be pretty cold. And if you go to Miami, I mean, those guys kind of have some sort of like field home advantage. So that to me is a team that could make some noise. In terms of the teams that missed out, honestly, the only one that I can see here is Atlanta United, all the way down to 11th. It looks like. I went to a couple of games this year with my family down there. Great atmosphere, amazing stadium. So it's just kind of sad to see them fall down below. And I have a soft spot for them because Gonzalo Pineda, the head coach, played for the national team in Mexico a number of years, and he was also Schmelzer's assistant here in Seattle. So I got to run a couple of training sessions with him. Great guy, family man, and then he got the head coaching job in Atlanta, and unfortunately, they didn't make the playoffs, but.
They didn't, and they kind of also I like their approach because they prioritize young talent. I think the best signing for me that they could have made at any point in time was Thiago Almada, and I think that he's going to be someone. He's so good, and I think he's going to end up coming. I mean, take the path of Almiron, for example, right? Who also came from Atlanta, and is now lighting it up for Newcastle after getting his feet wet in the Prem for a couple of years. So I think Almada could follow suit, and I think he's going to even follow suit when it comes to like the national team for Argentina. We'll see.
I mean, he's already playing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that
when they beat, I can't remember, it was Honduras 3-0.
Yeah. So like I said, I think you take a step back to try to introduce some new pieces and have a new kind of system that you want to run that's built around youth. But overall, like I see Atlanta bouncing back next season. We'll definitely see. And guys, keep in mind the first matchups are coming hot and fast. I think FC Dallas plays as soon as Monday night, but even on Saturday the 15th, we have the first two. Red Bulls are playing Cincinnati. Galaxy's playing Nashville.
It's going
and then just kind of gets into it hot and fast from there. So I'm going to try and make my way out to the games, get some new content. I encourage any fan out there to do the same. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
And now, reach out.
Let's pivot over to Liga MX. Absolutely, bro. Anybody's going to be out there and wants to get some content on the plate together. I mean, hell, reach out to us. Let us know in the comments. We'll definitely try and work our way out there for sure. Now, Liga MX, Andres, this is definitely more of your realm. Look, bro. It's great to see that we're talking about these leagues together because they're going to be coming together in a really big way starting next season. But we're not going to talk about that today. I think talking strictly about the bracket that is Liga MX and how playoffs are going to pan out. Why don't you give us kind of those matchups as they sit for right now?
Yeah, and I'll just give you a quick rundown too. So the playoffs expanded. Historically, the last 20 years, it was La Liguilla, right? So the playoffs were 8 teams, the top 8 teams, and then just your regular bracket, quarterfinals, semifinals, and final. All games are a 2-legged affair. As of this year, they actually expanded it to, I believe, 12 teams. So now 12 out of the 18 teams in the top flight in Mexico get a chance to play in the playoffs, which to me, it kind of diminishes, waters down the quality because you can squeak by with a pretty shitty losing record into the playoffs. So that's a whole nother thing. I mean, they eliminated promotion relegation, which is a big topic in Mexico. And so, that's another thing too that we can go into in another time. But the way that the quarterfinals are set, a couple matchups that call my attention here: Cruz Azul Monterrey, both not owned, but they're represented by the same entity here in the U.S. That was actually the game that I told you that we ran in Austin. So I anticipate that to be fireworks. And then the one that I'm definitely looking forward to is Pachuca Tigres. Pachuca, they've been a young team for a few years. They developed a lot of, products like Irving Lozano, Roberto Pizarro. Like they've got a solid youth academy. Actually, my boy
Pizarro came out of there.
Yeah, actually, my boy William Yarbrough, he came out of Pachuca. So
nice, good shit.
Yeah, dude. Shouts Willie.
When are we getting that dude on the pod?
Yeah, I'm gonna text him now. I'm not gonna throw shade, but now that they're out of the playoffs, my man's got a lot of free time. So Willie, I'll hit you up, my guy. Tigres is obviously I think the team to beat with Gignac. He's just a freaking monster. Got sent to the Liga MX. And then the other two matchups are America Puebla, which again, America always gets a lot of recognition just being the one of the two top teams in Mexico along with Chivas. And then
would you say, by the way, would you say really quickly that America are like, because I've heard this comparison. People try to compare Liga MX like La Liga, and they'll be like, "Oh, Chivas are like Real Madrid, and America are like Barcelona."
I would say the other way around.
Yeah, I think sometimes too. Exactly. I think it depends on who you ask, because to me, you can get really deep with that argument in terms of like play styles and like the history of the clubs and like all of that stuff. But like, yes,
tradition. Like I would say, sadly, obviously, I'm a Real Madrid fan, but we're more in line with America because they buy their players. They have a shit ton of money. They're kind of like, that posh club that everybody hates. And then on the flip side, Chivas are all Mexicans, right? They still have that rule of like homegrown talent only. They are more of like the people's team. They play a different style. So I would counter that argument. Now, in terms of winning, yeah, like obviously, Real Madrid and America go hand in hand, and I'm okay with that. But it's a different story. But no, honestly, talking about Chivas, they lost out or they missed out on the last spot of the playoffs last night, losing in PKs against
penalties,
Puebla.
Bro.
I know, dude. That's tough. I know. I have a lot of friends and family.
Who missed it?
All my Chivas fans. I think it was, dude. I can't remember who it was, but he basically pulled a John Terry. He slipped on the fucking right next to the ball. His plant foot slipped, and the ball just skyrocketed over the air. And then one of the Puebla dudes like fucking pulled up Panenka. Oh my! It was dramatic. It was a lot of drama.
It was 5-4 on Pens, guys. So it like just like that John Terry miss from 2008 that he's referring to. It came down to literally one person fielding that entire shame. Oh man, that's tough.
So anyway, Liga MX, you don't follow it, or if you're like, oh, the regular season sucks, highly guaranteed that you're going to get some pretty decent matchups here throughout the week. And the cool thing is they play midweek and then on the weekend. So it's quick, right? So if you play on Wednesday, you end up playing on Saturday. If you play Thursday, you play Sunday for that away leg. So in 3 weeks' time, we'll know the champion. But pretty excited.
100%, bro. I'm pretty excited about that. So, guys, like Andrew just mentioned, first leg start on the 12th. So there's going to be, that's quarterfinals. There's going to be a ton of action to watch this week alone, bro. There's so much that's coming to the forefront.
There's a lot.
We're definitely going to talk about all of it.
I love it.
Yeah, 100%. Now, guys, moving on. Let's talk about some of the, when we talk about our teams here on this pod, that's kind of what I want to focus on before we get over to quick hits and just cover Europe as a whole. But as most people, if you've been tuning into this show, you probably know already, Andre is a Madridista, big Real Madrid fan, also a big Leeds United supporter in the Prem. And then equally, on my side of things, people always ask how the hell we're friends, but, I'm a big Barcelona fan, a culé at heart. And I think that, just my whole family kind of is that way, just like Andre's is. And then, out of my own personal interests, Arsenal is, the club that I've just kind of built this enormous love for. So, we have kind of those opposite ends of that same coin. But that ends up being kind of our passion that we want to bring into this show as much as we possibly can. So we're going to focus on some of those results. Let's start with Real Madrid because you guys played on Saturday. We played on Sunday. So pretty much standard, kind of normal, I would say business as usual for Real Madrid, closing out Getafe at home. At Getafe's home, away for Real Madrid, which actually, believe it or not, a bigger result than some people think. It was a 1-0. It should have been 2 because there was a goal that was called back.
Yeah.
Or I say could have been 2. It was rightfully called back. But nonetheless, an early corner, Militao got the header. Obviously, it went in, and you guys kind of wrote out that single goal to kind of get the W. I think what's most impressive for Madrid is the fact that most people think of Getafe as just this bottom of the table or mid to bottom of the table team.
Yep.
However, Real Madrid were kind of on a streak of not getting maximum points at Getafe over the last few seasons.
Yeah.
So they're breaking that streak now with this 1-0 victory. And it kind of, I think paints the right picture heading into El Clasico. So now, you guys ended off the weekend in first. Barcelona obviously came in and tied that up again. But we'll talk about that here in a second. Looking at how the game finished, first off, as a tried and true fan, Andre, what was your take? Is this the version of the team that you wanted to see heading into El Clasico?
Oh, good question. Yes and no. I think. Okay, so I'll break it up into different parts. Overall, we looked solid enough for me to be comfortable walking into a Clasico. Now, how do we won 5-0 against Getafe? Would that give me like false hope, false confidence? Or would we have lost, you say we lost like 1-0 or 2-1 and
Yeah,
Getafe turned it around? Would I have been worried about El Clasico? That's the thing about El Clasico, dude. Like anything can freaking
it's
happen.
different.
It breaks,
Yeah,
like it makes or breaks seasons because you can have a streak of losing or a streak of winning and all of a sudden, you tank, right? So it's like it really doesn't matter what your form is going into it as much as people think. Now, looking at on paper and looking at, the way that we've been playing and with Champions League in the mix, and to your point, like just how long and how condensed this season is now with so many games, I do like our rhythm. I will say that I like our form, for like a better term. Um, Obviously, with Benzema, we have to take care of him, dude. Like you notice a completely different team when Benzema's out. Like I love Eden Hazard. I defended him a couple weeks ago to my yeah. I know I don't want to talk about it, but at the end of the day
to your own
is
fault, but yeah,
yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that he's healthy, and hopefully, this weekend it'll prove that that he's kind of the guy that we need, right? Our midfield is still solid. I really like
yeah,
the way what we're doing with Tchouaméni in the middle, and then rotating whether it's Valverde, who's been playing a lot, Camavinga, who's been coming on in the 60th, 70th minute. Modric has been playing at a whole nother level. We still have Kroos, at a decent level. So overall, like I said, I feel good about it.
yeah.
I'm not super worried, and I also like the fact that, like, look, if we fucking lose on Saturday, yeah, the media is going to go in a media frenzy, and we're playing at home, and we shouldn't lose. But if we drop points, we're still only 3 points behind y'all. So
Yeah.
that's
It's the same for either side of the coin. This El Clasico will not define the season.
that's a
Whereas, like,
great point. Yeah,
last season, you remember, like Real Madrid started off so well, Barca started off so poorly that like the first El Clasico literally defined or
yeah,
almost defined like Barca's first half of the season because they needed the points. This time with it feeling much more like two very mature teams,
yeah.
coming head to head. It's I don't think we'll really get to that point
No,
until we're back
it'd
in
be
like
silly to think
April
that. Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that
So
game,
we'll see.
the second leg is going to be more decisive. Obviously, it's after the World Cup. We'll see how many injuries both teams have. I mean, your back line is atrocious. I'll let you talk about that. But
Yeah.
I feel like you made a really good point. It's not going to make or break the season, and fans are obviously, it's a Clasico. You got to win it. It's one of those games that's like
Yeah.
pinned in your little calendar when the schedule comes out. But end of the day, I hope it's a great match. I mean, we've seen both teams. Both teams won 1-0 this weekend. They've both been on a pretty decent form. And I'll let you talk about Barcelona, like having dropped those points against Inter midweek last week, but in Champions League. But other than that, it should be a pretty solid game. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I think so too. So, all in all, I think the one question I also had for you before we, kind of move away from Real Madrid would be, you mentioned Benzema.
Yep.
I will say, like, it felt way worse last year. I think anybody knows what I'm talking about. You watched El Clasico in the second half of last season, and Barca looked a little bit different. We had made some key signings in January to help us on the attacking front.
Yep.
So Ferran, Aubameyang, but these guys weren't, in my opinion, they weren't not dramatic needle movers. It wasn't more about what Barcelona was doing well. It was more about the fact that Real Madrid looked completely different without Benzema, almost lost. And now, I will say, you guys don't look like that anymore. It just looks and feels different.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, if you had to pick and choose the games, or maybe even the competition that you deprioritize in order to save Benzema, in order to keep him healthy as long as you can, and I'm still wondering, why the fuck didn't Real Madrid go out and get another striker in the
number
window
9?
just to help? Yeah, just to be he's 34, 35, like just to start peeling back some of the games and using his clutch factor for the moments that matter the most. So, like, if you had to pick a competition, or maybe some matches that you feel like, the team or the club could deprioritize and, maybe just keep him on the bench for, I don't know, would that be La Liga? Would that be,
No.
I mean, it's easy to say the Copa del Rey. Would it be the Champions League at some point, depending on the group stage matches? What would it be for you?
I think Copa del Rey is easy. I actually was thinking about this a little bit over the weekend, but if I were Carlo, I would say, okay, if it's Champions League against a team that we know historically, right, on paper, we should dominate or should at least get a result.
If it's a Donetsk or something, yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably start him on the bench or have him play one half, maybe 60 minutes tops. The full 90 week in and week out, especially having like 3 games a week, plus like getting ready for the World Cup, scares me. I'm not gonna lie. It's one thing to do it
season. I mean,
yeah, it's one thing to do it one year. That's what I was gonna say. Like that was his, like, the epitome of his career. You know what I mean? That's like the peak of your career. You're gonna win Ballon d'Or, you win Champions League, you win La Liga. Like, you have to do it again at 34. Like, it's just a lot to ask out of him. So I think if Carlo is smart about it, I think he pulls him at 60 or has him start on the bench. And now that's when it gets tricky, because what do you do with a 4-4-2? Do you have Hazard start? Do you have Mariano start? Like, we lost Luka Jovic for all intents and purposes. Like, he was trash, but he's banging in goals at Fiore. So yeah, we probably should have gotten another striker, even if it's a young dude who's just like hungry and runs a lot. Like, I don't care. We don't need a Haaland yet. Like, I feel like Haaland is coming, but that's a completely different topic.
He probably will. I do think he will come.
I mean, Florentino Perez got asked about it, and both Florentino and Carlo Ancelotti, and they said, we don't want to talk about it, which
we're just not talking about it. Smart.
Just not going to talk about it. Just throwing it out there. We're not going to talk about it.
It will. You see what he's doing. Look, I think personally, like Haaland is made for the biggest spotlight imaginable, and you just think that there is no bigger spotlight than that of Real Madrid. So I think that, when you talk about a number 9 who's built for that level of attention, I mean, where the lights aren't going to be too bright for him. Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
Which leads to the prediction I made, bro, a while back, right? I do think it ends up flipping. I think Mbappe ends up, I don't know, Messi talks him into Barca, who knows? And then you get Haaland over at Real Madrid. That'd be the craziest El Clasico of all time.
That would.
Especially with all this shit happening leading up to Mbappe turning down Real Madrid. So I don't know. We'll see, bro. But I do think that maybe during the January window after the World Cup, you reassess Benzema and then you look at real backup options. Like, you need it could be a young, hungry guy. It doesn't even matter who it is, but he needs like rest.
I know we talked about this on the show. Like, it didn't have to be like a Darwin Nunez. It didn't have to be a Haaland. Like, just someone that is hungry, that's healthy, that has a lot of room for growth, but that is also not scared of the challenge, right? Of the bright lights of Real Madrid. And a good example of that is Rodrigo. When he came to the team, like, he was a young dude. I mean, he's still young, but like, you could tell he was kind of like,
he was raw.
Yeah, dude. It's like deer in headlights. Like, what's going on here? But you could tell that there was talent. Fine, I'll take that. Like, Mariano's clearly not the guy. Dude, honestly, little caveat: Mariano has to have the best job in the world, dude. Think about it. Think about it. Because you win every trophy. You never play.
Yeah.
You train with like elite world class talent, and you're also from the Dominican Republic, dude. Like, dude, sign me up. Sign me the fuck up.
It's like that there's merit to the argument of, like, the backup quarterback in the NFL who plays for an amazing team and just never has to touch the ball ever.
Clipboard.
Yeah.
Make 100%.
Money. Yeah, you rock that clipboard harder than anybody else, bro.
Anyway,
the compensation per game for someone like Mariano is like
absurd.
That's another thing too, right? Is like what you get paid for the minutes you actually play. It's got to be insane. Like it's got to be an insane number. Someone does the math there. Well, anyway, either way, I think Real Madrid for now is fine.
Yep.
It's just scary to see Benzema get knocks here and there because you just don't know where that option is going to come from. So
I agree.
I don't know. We'll see. But either way, a business as normal for them heading into one of the biggest games of the season. Now, on the other side of that coin, Barcelona coming off of what I will call a very shaky week. And as far as like probably the shakiest week so far this season, considering all the domestic success that they've had with guys like Leva. And so I will say first off, for people who didn't see the result, we beat Celta de Vigo 1-0 at home. I was nervous from the minute the lineups were set. If you guys didn't see who we started, the back line was 3 left backs and a center back. It was so weird, man. We have so many injuries. Araujo, Koundé, so many people that are out that who we had to start from left to right was Jordi Alba, normal left back. Marcos Alonso, because he's tall and kind of slow, I guess makes sense as a center back, but he doesn't play that regularly.
He played in that 3-5-2 with Chelsea, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, you can make some argument to that. Yeah, but like in a 4-back system, it's just completely different. And I'm like, anyway, it was weird for me. Yeah, Piqué, which is fine. You know, it's his normal position. And then next to him, you had Balde, who's not only not a right back, he's left. He's got a decent right foot, but he's 18 years old. He's inexperienced, and it's just not who we prefer to have at that position. And then from there, moving forward, it was pretty normal. But I would say a lot of our issues were caused because of defensive lapses yesterday. You know, Celta had so many opportunities to try and score. Thankfully, Ter Stegen's in form. And you know, he made some very crucial stops, but like it just like so many holes were found by Iago Aspas and that crew just simply because you have guys that are not only inexperienced at some of those positions, but just have zero chemistry playing together. And if we field anything close to that for El Clásico, I think even if Benzema didn't start, it would be I don't know. I expect at least a couple goals from Real Madrid side, especially at the Bernabeu. So it'll be really interesting to see what it looks like moving into that game. But my thoughts on the game and on the week in general, because coming into this game, if you guys didn't watch the Champions League match against Inter this past week, last week when we lost 1-0 at the San Siro, one, I was pissed as shit. Not really because of how we played per se. I will say the goal that we gave up to Calhanoglu was a defensive lapse. The only defensive lapse by Busquets. He just paid attention to the wrong runner. That's it. Like he followed the wrong runner. Inter didn't even have that many opportunities. Their one goal came from a decently placed shot outside of the box. I mean, it kind of is what it is. But Busquets was just covering the wrong man. Now, moving past that, this is why I hate VAR, bro. I can't for the life of me understand what the hell we're doing. Like what is the purpose of VAR, or to have rules and policies around video assistant referee if they're not going to be blanket and level across the board? Here's what I'm talking about. There were some new changes and policies to VAR heading into the Champions League, because it's still, you know, it's done league by league. Their own policies are kind of built that way. And with the Champions League, the new policy was, because it's happened quite a bit last season, so they changed it for this season. The policy around handball and how those are reviewed on VAR. And the policy basically reads, and we could throw a screenshot up as an edit for this pod episode, but essentially it reads as, if the ball is touched by a teammate, or I should say, if there's a handball and then it's then deflected to a teammate who then scores, it's not, as long as the person who handballed it didn't touch it after that, it should be allowed as a goal, as long as the play itself wasn't impeded by anyone in between. So, especially if it's an accident, that's another thing. Is how do you define accidental? But an accidental handball that leads to a goal by another teammate should be allowed to stand. Now, what I define as accidental is when a ball is put into a path of a player who then handballs it, especially when the hand is close to their body. And in that moment where our Pedri's goal is negated, it comes from Onana coming out on a corner. He gets all the hand on it. It comes off his hand. It comes off Fati, who goes for the header. And he does. He the tried and true method for heading, right? You put your hands up and you put your head through him. The ball hits his hand when he goes in to lean in for the header, and then falls to Pedri's feet and goes in. By definition, I feel like that should be a fucking goal, right? I think just with how it all plays out, because Onana controls where the ball goes. It's not even us. It's accidental. It should be allowed to stand. So that's one. Past that, the Dumfries handball. Bro, this is why people think that there's like shady shit going on in the Serie A. Like this is why people think that there's like match fixing and shit like that, because no one can explain to me how that's not a handball. Like no one can tell me that that's not. And I'm like, if Fati's handball stood, then that needs to stand as a handball, and that should have been a penalty. At a minimum, we should have drawn 1-1. I don't know if you see it differently, bro, but I was livid at solely the referee decisions. How we played in the build-up play, I think Inter was more physical than we were, and that's usually the case with Barca. We're not the most physical team. But nonetheless, I still think we were the better team. The stats all show it. But the calls went the way that they went, and now we have to kind of turn it around. And every Champions League group stage game from here on out is essentially a final. I will say though, I'm not as nervous as I would have been last season or in previous seasons, simply because we lost to Inter and Bayern away. Both games were away. It doesn't matter how you break it down. Those are two big clubs, big world class fan bases and clubs. You have to respect those clubs in their stadium, and the fact that we lost, I mean, it sucks, but playing those two teams at the Camp Nou will be different, and I'm okay with having to play a final for both of those matches. So, it kind of is what it is. But I think more importantly, for the sake of this pod and this episode, how we're playing right now going into El Clasico, Real Madrid, to me, have the upper hand. And for the biggest reason why right now is just, you said it before, our defensive line is atrocious. It doesn't look like we're going to stop anything. And more importantly, they're also not fast. And that's something that Real Madrid has in bundles, right?
I was just going to bring that up. The outside, yeah.
Araujo's not there. Koundé's not there. Like, our most athletic defenders are gone. So I don't know who keeps up with Vinny. I don't know who keeps up with Rodrigo. Benzema may just be a decoy. Like, dude, he has crazy wheels too. Yeah, bro. I think Chouameni may have all the time in the world to just sit back there and pick passes. And that might be, again, how this goes. So I don't know what to expect. If I were to predict right now, if you and I were to make predictions on how we see Clasico going, I would say I can see Real Madrid. I think it's going to be a close game. I see it going one of two ways. I think Madrid wins 2-1 or we draw 2-2. That's honestly how I think this goes. I really don't see a scenario where Barca wins, mainly because our build-up play starts in the back no matter what. We don't play direct. We don't play over the top. It always starts from the back, and it's going to be more difficult, especially if Real Madrid high presses, for us to get the same level of possession that we want, and for our attackers, Rafinha, for Dembele, for Leva, to see as much of the ball as they want. And we saw it against Celta. Leva had probably his worst game so far in a Barca shirt. So I think it's telling. A lot of things will have to shift in our strategy. We may go to 3 in the back. I don't really know yet. We'll see. But the 4-back formation that we had yesterday, it just isn't going to work against the team this good, against the defending European champions. I just don't see how it's going to work out. So those are my predictions. What you got?
Look, I hate making predictions ahead of the Clasico. I think you, as one of my best friends, knows it. I've known you for years. Like, I know a handful of Barca fans in my life that are pretty near and dear to me, and I hate doing it because I always jinx it. But for the purpose of the show, I'm going to say this goes one of two ways. We either win 2-1 in a close game, or we run rampant and win like 4-0 or 5-0. I don't see a way where you guys get points, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or
I kind of agree. Or maximum points. You don't see
or maximum points. Yeah.
So I agree with that. And I will say this though.
Hopefully I'm not wrong.
Caveat. I will say this. I will say this. And just guys, so you know how unpredictable this is. Barca probably had one of their worst seasons in recent memory last season. And we beat Real Madrid 4-0, right? So I think that there's and equally, that's probably more of a bragging point for me. I don't remember in recent memory Barca ever getting absolutely destroyed by Real Madrid, regardless of how the seasons were going. So
there's a 4-1 somewhere in there.
I think there's a 3-1. Sure. I don't know about a 4. We can double check that. I don't believe I've seen a game where Madrid has scored 4 on Barca.
What's the current like the trend in records? Because I know we won like 5 in a row.
Yeah, well, before last season,
before 4-0,
it was Yeah, it was like five in a row. But I will say it's almost dead even on all time.
Head to head, yeah.
I'll go
Yeah,
back
yeah.
and find. Yeah, it's
Yep.
really, really close though. So either
Yep.
way, though, I
Either
mean,
way.
on a derby match, you can never predict how it's going to go, and that's
Can't
the
wait
whole
for
point.
Sunday,
So
dude. That's the Classico weeks are
yeah,
the best because I mean, obviously in the US it's a little bit tough, but we live in the soccer world, so we see it, we consume it. But like if you're in Mexico, if you're even in Europe, like everybody's talking about day in and day out is a Classico, dude. Let alone like
yeah,
Friday, Saturday leading into the game. Fucking love derby weeks, man. It's the best.
I'm locked
Best.
in. I'm locked in, bro. It's gonna be great. Now let's go on and move on. Quick hits. Quick
Let's do it.
hits. We had a lot of crazy results over this past weekend, guys. I'm wearing an Arsenal jersey today because I'm just so
God,
happy.
dude, I
I'm so
love seeing
fucking
you this
happy.
happy, bro. I love seeing you this happy. It's been a
I'm
long
so happy,
time.
bro. It feels so good. I was like, I was telling everybody yesterday, I was like, guys, I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep 'cause I just got back from San Diego, and like it doesn't
Yep.
even feel like it. I'm cloud nine right
Cloud
now.
nine, bro.
It's amazing.
Oh
But we'll
man.
get there. Let's start with how the weekend started in the Prem. I didn't know how to feel about this one going in because it was very much a B
Yeah.
team that was fielded. But Chelsea convincingly beat Wolves 3-0.
Whew.
A very needed result in the earliest days of the Potter era.
And by the
But
way,
the
back
reason I
back to
say,
back 3-0 wins because they beat AC Milan midweek 3-0.
can we not read into that too much though?
I'm
Like
just
I
saying,
think
dude.
it's
On
important.
paper.
It's important. It's important on paper. I still think this team under Potter has a long way to go towards
Yeah.
finding itself
Yeah,
because even in the
obviously.
Wolves game, bro, even in the Wolves game, Wolves were giving them
Yeah.
opportunities. I mean, just giving balls away in the back, not even getting out of their own half.
That's actually a team that
Pulisic
is
started.
making me sad to watch now. Like under Nuno Espirito Sancho, when they were flying, dude, and they were like pushing for Europe and all this shit. I'm like, dude, Wolves is like the
Yeah,
next Leicester. Like they're gonna fucking be around for a while. And now this
I
season,
know. Bro, Bruno Lage got sacked. Not the best kind of start to the first couple of months of a campaign. They brought in Diego Costa, who has yet to really kind of find his footing. And granted,
yep,
you know, he's older now. He's not what he was when he was at Chelsea, or even Atletico. He's just, you
just
know, he's trying
stopgap
to find his
for
footing with the
Raul.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Who also just hasn't found his form since his big injury. So
yeah,
it's so tough. And then Pedro Neto was out for a little while. I mean, Mateus Nunez is looking good as an individual player, but that midfield is kind of still just wonky. I
yep,
think the Donker's also hurt. You know, I don't know. I really don't know where Wolves go. But forget about Wolves for a second. With Chelsea, Pulisic started.
yep.
He got his goal, which is
Mm-hmm.
great because in the first half he wasted some real opportunities, and it's like he didn't look confident on the ball. But I will say this, and maybe this is a hot take, and we can debate it or not debate it.
Yep,
The more I watch Pulisic play,
yep.
the more I feel he is not a centerpiece, and this includes discussions for the U.S. men's national team. I
Agreed.
just
I'm
don't.
with you 100%.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, I didn't know if I was just being ballsy as hell by throwing that out there, but I think that
No.
in my opinion, he's not a true 10 at all. He's a winger that offers a ton with his pace
Mm-hmm.
and with his change of direction and what he's able to do in terms of finishing when he's in form. But
Yep.
outside of that, I don't think he's a centerpiece you can build around. And I think I have enough in terms of the body of work that I can conclusively say guys like Gio Reyna are more of that profile.
Yep.
It's less Christian Pulisic, and the fact that he is made out to be Captain America or the LeBron James of soccer is cool to see and talk about. And I'm sure a lot of that is played up by the fact that he's at a club as big as Chelsea.
Yep.
But I do think there's a reason why you didn't see him start in the Champions League, even against some of the teams that they're playing. And I think that there's a reason you only see him start against teams like Wolves. I don't think that there's any of this bias or agenda
Mm-hmm.
against someone like Pulisic. I think Potter just knows what he needs, and Tuchel the same. No,
Love it.
these managers know what they need to get their team moving in the right direction, and I don't think he offers enough of that.
It's
How do you feel about
also
that?
no, I completely agree. And when I say that here, I am the bad guy who's bashing the U.S. men's national team. I'm like, bro, go to Europe. Who the f talks about Pulisic out there? I'm not gonna lie, dude. And this is
Nobody.
not me talking about anything. People over there are talking about Mason Mount. They're talking about Kai Havertz for however bad he's been this season. He's still banging him in. Like people talk about other players at Chelsea. Pulisic is this guy who offers something, but he shouldn't be the standout. The number 10 is going to wear
Yeah.
way heavy on him. I'm telling you that right now. And you can tell that he likes the pressure. He likes to put that on himself and stuff like that. But like, let's be realistic here. I mean, this dude at a Leeds, for example, this dude at a Wolves, for example, would be that guy, would be the guy.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is, to your point on his actual position, you're right. When he plays at Chelsea on the left wing, or even on the right when he swaps, you can see that that's where he feels most comfortable. When you put him as the number 10 on the national team and every ball has to go through him for creativity, sometimes he's just like, do I take people on? Do I go for the long shot? Do I go for like the through ball? Like, do I play the ball back? Like, you can tell that he's thinking about too many things when he gets the ball in the middle. A guy like Gio Reyna, way more comfortable on the ball, right? Way more Pedri like. I'll give you that. So I think he needs a change. He needs a move, because he's just gonna get burnt out with the pressure, man. I'm telling you, like, you can tell that it's still weighing on him, and especially having to carry this national team into Qatar, which is not an easy group, by the way. I saw the FIFA rankings. Iran is 20th, so every team that they're playing against is in the top 20. Obviously, England, top 5. And then you've got
we
Wales.
talked about those rankings for sure on the show.
And then you've got Wales, who's 19, and then Iran, who's 20th. Like, it's not going to be an easy feat, and I think he knows that. So I don't know. Something needs to happen, but he should not be the pillar for the U.S. men's national team. It has to be either a team effort or shift the weight to like a Gio Reyna or even a Brendan Aronson. Brendan Aronson has looked fucking great, dude.
And he has. He's looked. His engine is everything.
Insane, dude. Yeah,
that's another thing too. Like, I don't know if Berhalter will ever listen to anybody who tells him Pulisic is not the centerpiece, but nonetheless, I still think that we'll find out what his plans are when Qatar comes. I'm tired of this narrative of Pulisic is the end all be all for this team. You're diminishing so many players who make that system run, or at least should make that system run.
Even Weston McKennie, right?
Yeah, I mean, more of
as
a
much as Alina hates
him,
him,
but maybe not Juve's best centerpiece. But like, at the end of the day, I just think that this idea that Pulisic needs to be the piece that makes this whole team work is very naive football thinking. I think you need to get a little bit deeper with the other players and pieces they have around him. So we will see. But nonetheless, he gets on the score sheet. Chelsea win 3-0 like they should against a team like Wolves. Now, can they continue to build some momentum here? Now, moving past that, we also have more Prem action. This one's a little bit light, but I do want to talk about it because there are some interesting comparisons going around the internet right now. City breeze past Southampton 4-0. Haaland scores again. Yes, he scores again. The 20th goal for City in all competitions. It is only October 10th, which, I'll say that. The fact that stat was thrown out there by the Prem on Twitter over the weekend, every record kind of came out. Every player came out of the woodwork with their own opinion, right? And here's what you and I talked about this a little bit on Twitter even before the show started today. People already calling Haaland the greatest to ever do it. Is he the most talked about striker? Is he the most prolific striker that we've seen in our generation or any generation? Now, something I will say, in the history of the Prem, you might have some wheels to stand on there because there are very few players who have come out of the Prem who could do what he's done. I still don't think, until he matches the all-around effectiveness and longevity and creativity that Thierry Henry exhibited, I will, and maybe this is my Arsenal bias, but I will die on that hill. Thierry Henry, to me, is still very much the best overall attacker in the history of the Premier League. Now, with that said, Haaland is doing things that nobody in the Prem has ever really done. But is he the best overall striker that even you or I have ever seen? And I think that there's a comparison already out there that most people are kind of neglecting right now or not talking about it as much, but is the comparison to R9, prime R9, right? Not the CR7 Cristiano Ronaldo that we know today, but the Ronaldo de Nazario, the prime R9, the Brazilian Ronaldo, however you see him. His best days came in a Real Madrid jersey, but he also did work at Inter, at Barca. If social media existed when prime Ronaldo was playing, would he be bigger than Haaland?
I think the question should be asked the other way around. Would Haaland be bigger than Ronaldo?
Right? That's how I
getting
feel
covered.
About it.
Dude, that comparison is absurd to me. And by the way, I'm glad that tweet came out when somebody was like, can we chill on Haaland? And I love Haaland, dude. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
Like, you guys know this on the show. Like, I've always been a huge, like, Haaland. Like, I wanted him for Madrid for so long. Like, he's that 9 that Pep needed, blah, 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 blah. Talk all you want about it. But, dude, to do my man's the disrespect and saying that he's better than or equal to R9, Get over it. At the same age, by the way. That's the tweet that we saw. And you can go into it a little bit more if you want.
It's actually technically even a year older. So the tweet that Andre's referring to, Haaland, age 22, has 173 goals to his name. Which, by the way, let's really quick pause. That is absurd. Like in any era, that's fucking crazy.
Yep.
Now, here's the version of Haaland or striker that we saw growing up. Prime R9 at 21, 191 goals, a World Cup to his name, and 2-time best player in the world. I think and when he made the move to Real Madrid, it felt like the level of publicity, like the max level publicity you could probably receive. It's very comparable to like when Beckham moved over to the MLS from Real Madrid.
From Madrid,
just with like literally couldn't breathe with how much publicity is around you, paparazzi, everything in between.
Totally, dude.
It was pre social media being what it is today.
Yeah, bro.
But I think if social media existed back then, R9 wouldn't have been able to like get out of bed without like without cameras and people and just blowing his shit up, right?
He would have been like Kanye, bro, walking through an airport. Like it just wouldn't happen. He would have been like the Kardashians. Like there's no way, bro. Really excited about the documentary, by the way. The R9 documentary.
Yes, bro. On what? So, is it DAZN?
No, I don't know. I'll have to look.
Is it? I'm pretty sure it is.
Is it? Maybe.
I think so. Anyway, we'll find it. But yeah, that documentary is going to be wild.
We'll find it. We'll throw it on the link. But it's, I think, okay. Another thing too is this happened. What? I'm dating myself here, but when we were pretty young, right? So this has to be like what 20, 25 years ago when R9 was like
20 plus. Yeah, 20 plus years ago.
So to your point, if social media was around, I think there'd be a lot more. I hate this word, but there'd be a lot more proof that R9 was the GOAT. Because you see videos, you see highlights, you see all this shit, but like people now see Haaland as a brand. People see him as like, you know, his outreach social media wise, endorsements, his just his presence. But like Ronaldo was just not human. Like the way that he was built to do the things that he did on a soccer field, I've never in my life seen done. You know what I mean?
And I will say, R9 was like, if this is what, okay, look, I'm not going to say I hate this generation, Gen Z. What I hate about Gen Z and this generation is that they're so stat driven. They won't even do the eye test. They won't even go, bro. If y'all don't want to watch the games, fine, but just YouTube his highlights. Like the guy would do things that were reminiscent of every GOAT that we've ever thrown out there. Messi, Ronaldo, anybody. Like basically he would. How Haaland has scored all these goals is fantastic, but a lot of people do call him a tap-in merchant, right? To an extent, he's always in the right position, but that's where he scores from, is the 6 or the 18.
Yep.
Ronaldo would crank one from 40 yards and bang it. He would dribble everybody,
dudes.
the whole team, and then finish it.
And by the way, he had. Go ahead. No, finish.
I was gonna say he had Messi-like qualities with his dribbling, and then CR7-like qualities with his finishing. I mean,
correct.
He was the perfect, almost the perfect form of a striker. I would say that the comparison to make wouldn't be Haaland versus R9. It would almost be R9 versus Thierry Henry, or like one of those other strikers who did infinitely more than just be in the right position to score goals.
Yep. A couple things. One, there's a video of Ronaldo playing against a team in like Serbia or Russia or whatever, where the pitch is literally mud, and he's still doing like ballerina moves, doing like, give and goes, mags, whatever. Like the fields back in the day, as compared to like what the Prem looks like now, crazy. Now, the other tweet that I saw, which was fucking, it cracked me up, dude. It was probably the best tweet that I saw this weekend, was Haaland is what Zlatan wishes he was. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Yes.
I'm going to leave it at that. And once again, dude, it's the whole culture of stats, the recency bias, he's explosive, whatever. Dude, that's all I'm going to say. That's a much better comparison than comparing him to my man R9. Whole nother level.
Yes. 100%, bro. And what did I say in Discord over the weekend, right? When you threw that out there, I was like, I've been telling people that he is, the best way to put it, he is Zlatan Air Pro Max. Like he is the level up of Ibrahimovic, right? Like everything Ibra wishes he was, Haaland is in a nutshell. And look, I'm not taking anything away from Haaland. I'm not sitting here shitting on this guy. Neither of us are. It is just, guys, we are so early, even in this season, we are early in Haaland's career. But we also can't use today's stats and the modern game to forget about how great some of the legends of the game were, especially someone like as prolific as R9.
Yep.
And it also goes to show how great that Real Madrid team should have been when you had all the A-listers there, right? Ronaldo, Figo, the
Raul,
Galacticos, right?
Zidane, Beckham,
Zidane, Raul,
Roberto
everybody.
Carlos,
Casillas.
Iker.
That team was literally just a team. It was probably a world 11. That's almost how you have to look at it. And so the fact that he was consistently, without a doubt, no matter what, the number one striker on that team consistently. I think when Haaland gets to that level, we can start making a little more comparisons. But it's just too early. It's too early right now. I think also if you slot prime R9 into this team, this Man City team, I'm not saying we're going to see more goals, but I will say we would see probably a different version of City, one that saw prime R9 doing significantly more with that team combining more, almost the way that Benzema does with Real Madrid. I don't know. I just think
I completely agree.
They're not even comparable as football.
He wouldn't need De Bruyne to assist him. That's all I'm going to say. He would just say, fuck it, put the team on my back, and I'm running through dudes.
Although I will say that's a scary combo, Haaland, De Bruyne. Do we feel like the UCL is theirs to lose before we move on?
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
You're a defending champion, Real Madrid. Is City in your mind? Is it automatically their Champions League this season to lose?
Yes, and I love it because it takes off the fucking pressure of us that we just won it. We beat PSG. We beat Chelsea, we beat City, and we beat Liverpool in one season. And everybody talks about how Real Madrid is always handed the easy hand. You guys play easy teams. I don't want to hear it. Like we just proved it.
Now we can't say that, but before that shit, we could.
Yeah. So now that we did it, now this should be the season of like do it again, right? Do it again. It's not ours to lose. Who is the best team?
No,
City. It's City's to lose, dude.
By a mile. Just purely out of the fact that not just having Haaland, guys. It's not just having Haaland.
No,
it is the monster and the machine that Pep has created, and then you slap Haaland into that.
Well,
it should be theirs.
Yeah, historically, if you look back at how long Pep has been at City and the teams that he's had, he should have one or two. Even last year, the way that they lost to us last minute, if Grealish puts that in, it's over. You know,
it comes down to clutch factor. It literally comes down to clutch factor.
It does. It does. It really does. Anyway.
Yeah, moving on.
Talk about
Newcastle. Yeah, Newcastle breaks the floodgates open to demolish Brentford 5-1. And I will say, Brentford looked like a shell of themselves. This is probably the worst I've seen Brentford look. And guys, it's not saying this is the worst result Brentford's seen, but Brentford typically at home are a very scrappy, very hardworking engine that usually does enough to get things done at home, get the results they need. They were making mistakes that I hadn't seen them make all year. Ivan Toney did not look clinical up front. But more importantly, to not take anything away from Newcastle here, Newcastle under Eddie Howe are finding ways to put it together. And watching them play pisses me off because we could have had Bruno. Arsenal could have had Bruno Guimaraes. And now
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Dude, as a defensive mid, as a center mid in general, scoring goals. Dude, the banger he had from distance against Brentford was phenomenal. And then,
don't sleep on my guy at the World Cup. Don't sleep on him,
man.
Like Fred,
it's just crazy,
watch out, dude.
We could have had him for $40 million, bro. We could have had the guy for $40 million locked down, not even have to look for another center mid piece. And now, we're watching him do this for Newcastle. I don't know, bro. I mean, overall, do you think that Newcastle finishes in a European spot by the end of the year? They're 8th. By the way, they're in 8th.
I know. I think no, and here's why. I think that they're a team that are really solid, obviously, throughout, but they're one or two injuries away from not having the depth. And the World Cup break of that, like 6 weeks or however long teams are going to be away from their players and not playing actual competitive matches is going to affect them. They're one of those teams that, like, if you do it this year, great. You got to do it next year. Okay. By the third year, you're kind of like, you have that like mold, right? This year is just one of those years. This year is like a fucking, like Wolves, perfect example. Like the Wolves under Nuno Espirito Santo before Raul Jimenez got hurt. They're the same team.
Yeah.
And to come out and say, okay, like the expectation is to finish 6th or 7th, I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, what does that say about their model? Do other teams start, mirroring it? And on top of that, you talk about the ownership, right? So they're only going to get better because they're getting all that money funneled in. I don't know. Great to see that. I love Newcastle.
They're in 6th, not 8th. So they're already in the European spot, but can they keep it up? And I will agree with you. They're in it's how they balance players. And the beauty of it is they don't have to worry about Europe right now. It's simply
Yeah.
all domestic competition. So it's just them finding a way to kind of make it all work, especially after the World Cup. But
Yep.
I will say, guys, like, who's the injury prone striker? Is it Callum Wilson? Callum
Yep.
Wilson is Someone that I think we have to watch. St. Maximin's also had some injury problems over the years.
Almiron.
But overall, I like what Eddie Howe's doing. I like what the ownership group is doing.
Yep.
They're bringing so much life back to Newcastle all the way around. I mean,
they're a
if I had to
team.
predict it, I could see them finishing at least Europa Conference League.
You think so?
I feel like if they stay healthy, that's probably the caveat here.
Yeah.
They stay healthy, but I could see it, bro. I really can, because right now it's like it's almost just their like guys like Almiron who just put in a ton of hard work, still find a way to get goals.
Yep.
Bruno is such a game changer. Trippier is such a game changer for them.
Set pieces.
I don't. Yeah, set pieces, everything. I just think collectively they're all on this mission to
That's
be
fair.
something bigger than what everybody thought they were. So,
well, yeah,
we'll see.
They're honestly they're what I was hoping, and they're what I wanted Leeds to be this season. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
because I had a
but
feeling.
I will say, being in sixth, I mean,
I know I had a feeling like a team like that was gonna make some noise, especially because you look at United in shambles, you look at Chelsea kind of shaky, you look at like Spurs who are Spursy. So I always thought like, oh, we're gonna get one of those like another Leicester City or whatever, and I thought, or another West Ham of last year. I thought Leeds were going to be it, obviously biased, but great to see Newcastle back up there, man. They've always been, I've had a soft spot for them ever since that Gold movie, bro, with Santiago.
Hell yeah.
My
the
guy.
Jermaine Genius days. Hell
yeah. Dude. Yeah, dude.
I remember, bro. I remember. Yeah, I mean, look, we'll see if they keep doing it. They can keep this pace up. But right now, just look at the top four, or just the top six. Top six is literally Arsenal, City, Tottenham, Chelsea, United, Newcastle. Brighton's right beneath them. Bournemouth coming up at eighth after that 9-0 drubbing, which is crazy. So,
yeah,
I think that those mix of teams, they're going to find a way to kind of stay scrappy, but then keep pace with the top six. We'll see.
Yep.
Speaking of top six, we had, we'll talk about Tottenham. I know I mentioned the fact that we talked about last week how they lost to Arsenal, right? Which,
I know.
North London derby. It's gonna be a different game when we go back to it's red. When we go back to Tottenham, we'll see how that game pans out. But coming back after that loss, they narrowly scrape out a win against Brighton. I know I threw narrow in there, but Brighton is a good team, even without even post Potter and everything they have going on. Brighton put up a hell of a fight. Just couldn't really find the goal. Trossard had a couple opportunities. They did enough. Harry Kane and Son did enough. What I will say about this result, Tottenham. Okay, so if I look at all the top 5 leagues, right, all the major La Liga, the Prem, the Serie A, everybody included, all top 5 European leagues, and I look at the top 4 teams across each of those leagues. If I had to pick a team if I had to pick a team that I was least afraid of, it would be Spurs. And I think it's maybe because of mental shifts. I don't know what happened between Europe and the Prem and everything in between, or what Conte's telling them in the locker room. But like, they have these games where like they should be creating significantly more chances, and they just don't. And even the goal they had with Harry Kane, it was kind of just this scrappy, comes off of Son on a pass that he didn't really intend to even give, and then Harry Kane puts it away.
A lot of their goals are like just like a follow up of a fuck up of somebody doing something, like, or like a flick on a corner kick and then like another flick back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not like, they should be more clinical, and they should be more like I don't know, for lack of a better term, they should be more linear when it comes to their attack. Like, because you know that you have the speed on the wings, you know they have Kane can drop or go, and they should play a little bit more like City, but they don't. They still have to like, rely on set pieces or mistakes by the defense or a flick or whatever. So yeah, I agree with you.
And that's what they still spent, $60 million on someone like Richarlison, who I thought was a very mediocre player at Everton. And then you look at everything how their built up play works. You mentioned they should operate a little more like a tried and true top team in the Prem, and they don't. I'm actually more scared of teams like Newcastle, who we were just talking about, because of how courageous they play. They come at you, they throw everything down the wings, or they come at you from distance with a shot from Bruno. I just don't see enough of that at Tottenham. There's not as many chances that are created. A lot of the play, like they're okay with just soaking up a lot of pressure and then playing out from it, which leads to just a handful of opportunities. I think if someone as good as Harry Kane got 6, 7, 8 chances a game as opposed to 2, 3, or 4,
Yeah.
he would be in the Golden Boot race, but he's not, and Holland's just going to run away with it this season.
Yeah,
so
no, I agree, dude. Thank God.
I don't know. I don't know.
Thank God Alina's not here. She would be like, "No, Jose, come on, top
You
two,
remember when
top
thought
two."
that like they were top two? Again, and they who knows, bro? Things could go crazy from here on out, and they might be top 3 or top 4. Like
Yep.
we'll see at the end of the year. But I think the continuation of these narrow wins, especially if injuries start to come into play, it's just, for me, it's like, if I was a Spurs fan, thank God I'm not. If I was a Spurs fan, I would be slightly concerned. You know what I mean?
Funny, dude.
Yeah, it's fair. Moving on to the better half of North London. Arsenal versus Liverpool. Bro, what a fucking game,
dude.
This game was everything fans wanted it to be. Yeah, everything, bro. Liverpool, honestly, they came out. You can't even knock Liverpool.
Dude.
They haven't looked consistent in recent weeks. It is what it is. But I was telling everybody coming into this game, look, guys, my man Martinelli's about to cook Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, only because the guy just doesn't defend as often as he needs to. And that's kind of the matchup that I was hoping for.
Yeah.
And from the first minute, man, Martinelli came out swinging. Beautiful ball by Odegaard. Great build-up play by Saka. And just the ball to find Martinelli to open up the scoring in the first minute of the match.
Yeah, dude.
Man, it is everything. I mean, look, I have a lot of thoughts to share on just this 3-2 result for Arsenal. But as someone who is very much a neutral, how do you feel about both teams looking at this one?
Dude, I think you hit the nail right in the head. I was expecting Liverpool to sit back a little bit, to say, okay, invite the pressure and then counter. They've got speed on the wings, but no, dude. Like, I mean, obviously you guys got the fantastic goal by Martinelli the first minute of the game, which, by the way, I'm still pissed at Martin Odegaard because you guys got a fucking God-sent gift.
Dude, he's such a just a wonder kid.
Shit out of us. Finesse the shit out of us. But, long story short, I think still, I don't know, dude. I don't want to say shocked at what Arsenal is doing this year, but I will say it is very impressive what Arteta's doing with a young squad. Especially coming off of, I keep reiterating it, coming off of the season that y'all had last year, like where you could have, broken into top 4 and then you lost to Tottenham, that big loss away. What that does to your morale as a team, to come back and do what they're doing right now, to be head to head with City. And look, this is no fluke, right? Like, my guy Arteta knows what he's doing. He was a former player. You could tell at the end of the game when he celebrated that win, it felt really fucking good, because obviously he was an assistant under Pep.
It felt really good.
And he recognizes those games of like sticking it to Liverpool. But dude, it was awesome. I kind of had a soft spot for Arsenal to win it, and feel bad for my boy Denny, dude. Shouts to my boy Denny.
We had to check on Denny in the Discord server for sure.
Yeah, we did.
And I think that like he had a great response to it all too, right? Like in the sense that, look, Liverpool played well. They didn't play bad. What's shitty to say now, knowing what happened to him after the game, is that Luis Diaz got injured in the game. Yeah. He's on my FPL team. He's out for 10 weeks. That shit's gonna suck. But like, moving past that, I think Liverpool, they're dealing with a lot of injuries right now. But they still fielded a great squad, had great build-up play all the way around. Both goals they scored, the Darwin Nunez goal as well as the Firmino one, was beautiful. Yep. I gave all the credit to them as they came out playing. But I just can't help but be impressed with how this young talent is making it work, piecing it all together. I would say if there's a player that I had to pick as an Arsenal fan that I felt like nobody's talking about, that is highly underrated, is Ben White. Dude, Ben White is like a revelation to me, bro. He was playing center back last season, so nobody has ever seen him play at right back. He played at center back for Brighton as well before he came over, and everybody criticized us for spending the 40+ million pounds on him.
Leeds product,
but I will say that, like, yeah, bro, and it's man, the guy is so versatile. The guy knows. You could probably put him, dude. You could probably put him as winger, and he'll figure it out in a few weeks.
He's built different, dude. He's physically.
Bro, I don't know what it is. Yeah, and he was making runs. Some of the balls he put in, the lines that he held defensively to stay in line with Saliba to get certain guys offside. Everything that he does as an outside back, phenomenal.
If he's not,
I rate him extremely highly.
If he's not on a plane to Qatar,
if he's on a plane to Qatar, then Southgate's a fucking idiot. Like I have no other way to put it. I would say right now, Ben White is, and maybe this is the hot take, and maybe this is the thumbnail for the fucking show. I don't care.
I know where you're going with this.
Ben White is a better right back than Trent Alexander-Arnold, and nobody can fucking tell me different. I don't care what anybody says. He is legitimately playing right now. He is more in form at that position as a defender and maybe as even an attacker, because he does enough to go forward and combine.
Yep.
He doesn't have the assist records that Trent has. He doesn't, he's not whipping every free kick and he's not taking free kicks, but he's getting the job done. So we'll move on from this, but that is very much the hot take.
If the World Cup started tomorrow, Ben White should be at right back over fucking Trent.
Yes. 1,000%. And I would say Kyle Walker's going to be injured. He's going to miss the World Cup.
Yep.
Trippier is a good option off the bench, but I think Ben White is the most informed right back in the Premier League. And you can't convince me otherwise.
He's the most informed right back, not right back in the Prem, which is fucking more like
it's
amazing.
Impressive.
That's
100%.
going to be, it's either that or the Holland versus R9. That's going to be our little tile for the pod this week.
Hell yeah. It's going to be the thumbnail, bro. We'll see. We'll see. Other results in the Prem, though. We had Everton take on United yesterday. It was the late game of the day. 2-1. The big headline coming out was there's a couple. And we'll talk about this. You weren't on the pod last week, so I want to get your take on this, too.
Sure.
2-1 United. Everton score first. Iwobi with a banger out of nowhere. That shit was crazy. Bro, I honestly, I've talked more shit about Iwobi than most players in my life.
I know.
Because of his days at Arsenal. But now, I'm just happy for him. Good for you, bro. You're on a team that's kind of probably where you're meant to be, and you're scoring goals like that. I can't be mad. But
I love it.
After that, United turns it on, and then the storyline of the day: Cristiano Ronaldo getting his 700th career club goal, getting more club goals than probably majority of players have caps.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking club or international.
Yep.
Crazy. The celebration was nuts. Honestly, I love that. The whole I love it. Everything about that was amazing. Anthony wants to be the new Ronaldo so bad. I love that too.
He scored a banger too.
Yeah, and bro, it's reminiscent of why you have a player like that, right? Someone that you put him in the right position and he has enough motivation for enough games, he's going to pump in 15, 20, 20 plus goals a season. That's what you want. I think he's more clinical than any striker they have on that roster. Yet Ten Hag still, is doing what Ten Hag does. But nonetheless, as someone who's a big believer in CR7, everything he's accomplished and everything he will be when his career is over, what does the 700th goal mean for him?
I think it comes at a time where it's very crucial because Portugal, believe it or not, they do have pretty high expectations for Qatar. I know a lot of folks tell me, obviously we've discussed this at length here, and we will talk about it even more as the World Cup gets closer and closer. But there's your Frances of the world, Argentina, Brazil, put some pressure on England and then Belgium. That's your top 5 for a lot of folks to win the World Cup. Don't sleep on Portugal, dude. They're stacked. Like, if you haven't looked at their potential 23 to go to the World Cup, every position has depth. And I would argue that this is probably the best Portugal that he will ever be leading into a major tournament. So it's a combination of youth. It's a combination of experience. It's a combination of dudes who've been on the national team for years. And he's going to be at the forefront of it all. I think the 700th goal came at a time when he needed it from a personal standpoint because of mental health, right? We've all heard about the news of his kid passing away, which is extremely sad. It affected him a lot in ways that he probably didn't realize that it was going to affect him. And he didn't have any other way to cope than to continue to play and go out there and do the same shit that he does every single day, LeBron style. So I think the meaning of his goal goes beyond the number and beyond the records. I think it's, from a mental standpoint, is going to do a lot for his, at least, I don't want to say for the rest of his career, but at least from now through Qatar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was a fantastic milestone for him, one that many will never touch in their lives. And nobody should understate the impact of Ronaldo in his career on football. He is one of the greatest to ever do it, and in many people's eyes, the greatest to ever do it. So I have nothing but respect for that man, especially with everything he's gone through lately. He keeps putting up goals, even whether he's starting or not. I love it. Now, I think another talking point from this game, because the commentators harped on it a lot, I got into full-blown arguments with United fans about this last week because Casemiro did not start against City, which made zero fucking sense to me.
Yeah,
but we'll go past that. I digress. Casemiro starts against Everton. He is part of, I guess, the mistake, I guess you could call it, where he gets ripped in the middle of the field. The
Yep.
ball gets played to Iwobi, and Iwobi hits that banger.
Sure.
And the criticism of Casemiro so far in the Prem has been that he plays a little more casually, that he's used to La Liga's pace, where he gets more timed on the ball to play it out, where the Prem is very fast, very quick, very physical.
Yep.
And he's still adjusting, maybe. Who knows? He does get the assist on Ronaldo, and it leads me to the biggest argument that I made on the pod last week, which was, I don't care who you are, there is no world where it makes more sense to start someone like McTominay in that position against a world-class team than it does to start Casemiro. And the biggest reason why is, I'll say two reasons. One is mentality in general. The guy is a serial winner. He only knows what it's like to play at a high level and has never been a part of a team that's been destroyed like that, the way that City destroyed United. I can't ever remember a team that Casemiro was a part of where he got scored on 4 or 5, 6 times in a game. Like, I haven't seen it. And the fact that Ten Hag was okay with starting McTominay in a very crucial position against a team that's led by Pep, I just think he was a giant
Massive
miscalculation.
Mistake. Yeah,
exactly. And I think Casemiro, deserved to start in this game, and he showed what he offers, and against someone like McTominay, the ability to go forward as soon as he wins the ball back. So I don't know if you have any take on that, but for me, Casemiro should be the clear-cut starter moving forward.
I agree. I think people should relax for a little bit, and it is a big transition going from playing at Real Madrid for however many years he played, almost a decade, including the youth system, and making a transition to the EPL. I think you need more rhythm as well. I mean, it showed in that goal, right? When he was, to your point, taking too much time on the ball, whatever, he gets stripped. But the ability, for him to go box to box, he had a header that he should have put away. So my man could have finished with a goal and an assist, easy, right? So it's like, fuck the haters, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Casemiro over
that's all we'll say about it.
Anyone in that midfield, yeah.
I agree. Cool. He's just too impactful. Moving on, we have a couple more results that I think people should just be aware of, and it was honestly great for us to see. Moving into the Bundesliga, two quick results. We had the start of the Xabi Alonso era. A 4-0 win, bro. Leverkusen. And it's kind of shitty because I felt like Leverkusen coming off of last season was poised to make some big waves and get back to that that top 3 status in the Bundesliga, where everybody's kind of used to seeing them, especially with some of the young talent they have on that squad. And some of them are hurt, so again,
sure,
we'll make aware of that. But Xabi Alonso getting his debut match in as now a Big 5 league manager and kind of picking up where he left off as a player, right? A serial winner, someone who knows nothing but that, and his team came out to play for him 4-0.
Yep.
Andre, any takeaways from your side?
No, I think I have a soft spot for Xabi Alonso, obviously being at Real Madrid for so many years, and you could always tell that guy was like different. You can always tell the type of like, this guy's gonna go into coaching, like Xavi, like Raul. So good to see that he's that's a big club. Like, people forget the history of Leverkusen. Like, these guys made that Champions League final in 2000, 2001 when Zidane scored that like nasty volley. Like, that team had Michael Ballack, Stefan Eifenberg. Like, they had a freaking stacked team.
They've always produced talent, especially at a young
and they've
age.
always produced talent. Yeah, I mean, Kai Havertz came from there.
Florian
Bellarabi
Wirtz is there now.
Florian Wirtz was there. My man's Chicharito was there. Don't forget. So Leverkusen should be a top 4 team every single year in the Bundesliga. So I'm really glad to see him make some noise in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, Der Klassiker ends in epic fashion. If you guys didn't see, it was 2-1 Bayern until the end of stoppage time. And what a header to fucking put it away, especially considering that they're still trying to find a way to bounce back in the, I guess you could call it, right, the post-Haaland era. I mean, it very much is that when you have that prolific of a goal scorer. But nonetheless, Bayern draw again. 2-2. I think if they keep dropping points like this, do we get to a point, and granted, this is Dortmund, right? Dortmund's still at the top of the Bundesliga, just like Bayern is. But do we get to a point where we start talking about Nagelsmann being, is he in the hot seat already? Would you say that from your side?
Yeah. And I always go back to like Europe. Well, I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but Europe is,
because they're first place in the Champions League right now in their group.
I know, and it's a tough group. I mean, you guys are in it. Inter's in it, but
Inter's in it. Yeah.
I think if you don't win Bundesliga, but how about this? If you don't win Bundesliga, but you win the German Cup and you finish in you exit the Champions League in the quarters or the semis. So you only win one out of those 3 trophies. One of them, the only one that's not as important. What do you do with Nagelsmann?
Oh, that's tough. Oh, because my mind goes to, if you're going to go move away from a coach, it's because there's a better one available on the market. I think as big of a club as Bayern is, and they do like to keep they like to keep it in house. They bring their legends back all the time.
Yep.
Look at Oliver Kahn. I love Oliver Kahn's reaction. By the way,
At the end. Holy shit, that's really funny. Yeah, but yeah,
it
you're
was
right.
really good. I mean, he went through every stage of grief all in in 30 seconds.
Well, that play was fucking atrocious, but whatever. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, but it happens. It happens in football more than people think. And that's why, I don't know if it's as clear cut as saying Nagelsmann out, but I will say that Bayern, even before Leva left and they brought Mane in, I would say even last season that they won the Bundesliga, they didn't look they haven't looked scary since they made the Champions League final against PSG and they won it. They just haven't looked lethal. And maybe that team just won finally everything they needed to win. And that's it. And maybe they turned it off after that. But I don't know. They have so much attacking power, yet unless they're playing Victoria Pilsen, you don't see the 5-0s, the 5-1s. And we saw a couple of those in the beginning of the season, but they've fallen off dramatically since then. So
I know.
I don't know. We'll see. But either way, great 2-2 draw. Fantastic to see Dortmund, find a way to nick it out in the end, get a point from that. And now, they head back to the Signal Iduna Park for the second leg of that their Klassiker series for this season. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Finally, guys, wrap up the episode today. UCL predictions. We'll do this quick. Tuesday and Wednesday, a repeat of what we saw last week, guys. So there's not too much taken into account outside of the fact that we're now on the flip side. We're on the reverse side of these fixtures. So now in the second half of the group stage, let's talk about Tuesday. We have some big matches. First on the table, AC Milan, Chelsea, coming off of that 3-0 defeat to Chelsea. They'll be hosting Chelsea this time around. Is it more of the same? Do we think that Milan just bounces back heavily at home? What's your prediction?
I think Milan bounces back. Had a pretty decent game against Juve. I'll give you a score. I think Milan win 2-1.
Ooh.
What do you think?
Man, that's going to be crazy if Potter loses that game and has to duke it out.
He has never
I don't know. I mean,
he has never played in an atmosphere like that. Dude, think about it. To go to the San Siro and play in front of 85,000,
bro.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
They're so loud. They're so loud. You would hear it. In the Barca game, you heard it against Inter. They're so loud. It's crazy.
And it's not even just in the stadium, dude. It's leading up to the stadium. It's like sleeping in your hotel. These dudes are fucking crazy. Potter's not in fucking Yorkshire anymore. Dude.
Yeah, seriously, bro. Seriously. So we'll see. That was going to be an interesting game. Originally, we were preparing for Alina to be on the show, and that's why I have Maccabi Haifa versus Juve also here. But Maccabi Haifa, I don't want to write them off. They actually put up a decent showing. I think it was 2-1 Juve last round.
And at home, too. I mean...
Yeah, they're at home now. So does that change? And I'll give you my prediction for AC Milan Chelsea in a second. But let's do it now. Milan versus Chelsea. I'm going to say... Did you say 2-1?
Yep.
I'm going to say... they draw 2-2. I still think Chelsea has enough firepower to hopefully get something in there. Yeah. Maybe... but I also think that Milan is, for whatever reason, just prone to giving some goals up here and there. And I think that's what will happen. Maybe it'll be a set piece. Maybe it won't be. But I still think they concede 1 or 2. So I don't see Chelsea winning, though. I don't see Chelsea picking up maximum points. That's for sure. Maccabi Haifa, Juve.
I still think Juve. Yeah, I think they edge it out 2-1.
I say 1-0. Yeah, I think it's one of those where
it's tight. It's going to be really tight.
No one plays sexy ball on that team anymore, so it's just going to be one of those things where because they're the better team
or something,
technically,
yeah.
They'll lick that one away. And then finally, the other side of that group with Maccabi Haifa and Juve, PSG versus Benfica, and it was a close game. I mean,
it was.
I will say at the end of the game last week, Benfica was kind of reeling, and they were just trying to survive it. But I will say Benfica looked better than I thought. And this is a better Benfica than in previous seasons. And they'll be on the road this time, unfortunately. But I am kind of cheering for them. I'll give you mine before I turn it over to you. I think because they're at home, PSG should win this one. They should. I'll say 1-0 PSG.
I think they run riot. I think PSG 3-0.
Damn, not even a shot for Benfica.
Nope,
That's crazy, bro.
not away from home.
I don't know. I'll give him credit. And then finally, Wednesday. Let's go to the matchups here first. And this one, believe it or not, bro, I think Bruges is at the top of this group.
Bruges
Atletico
is
Madrid versus Bruges.
along with Napoli. Bruges has been the other shock of the season for me in Champions League.
Aren't they undefeated in Champions League right now?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
tough
Let me
group too.
go find this group. But give me a so Atletico Madrid
At home,
who sits at the bottom of the table.
I know they need the 3
At
points,
home
man.
though in the
Against the
Wanda
best team,
and against old Barca
Saucy.
boy
Yeah.
Ferran Jucla.
I know.
I'll take that. How do you feel about this result though? So it's going to be basically bottom of the table, bottom of the group against top of the group, and holy
At the
shit,
Wanda.
dude! Brute at the Wanda. Bruges is 3-0. No other team is even close to them in the group. What's the scoreline on this one?
I think Cholo pulls another Cholo and they lose 1-2. I think Bruges win
Ooh, yes,
away
sir.
and they silence the Metropolitano.
I think so too. I actually have Bruges winning 1-0. And I thought this even before the games came up, simply because I think Cholo is going to find a way to try and be defensive at first and then play out.
Yeah.
And I think that Bruges is going to find a way to nick one in and then force them to get uncomfortable before they're ready. So
agreed.
I think, and Bruges is going to, again, they're the top of the group for a reason. Next, Barca versus Inter. I have my own thoughts on this shit.
I'll let you go first.
So it depends on what lineup we run. I don't know who's going to play at the back. So like that, there's also, like rumors that Koundé may be ready. Like, yeah. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think he'll be ready. I think we're going to save certain players for El Clasico. That's why I think Xavi will prioritize that because he's Barca through and through himself, and he realizes how important El Clasico is to our fan base.
Yep.
So I think that we're going to see some interesting changes for the Inter game.
Okay.
I think Frankie starts.
Okay.
This one's tough, man. It's a final that we have to treat as a final.
Yep.
I take Barca 2-1 at the Camp Nou. I think the Camp Nou is a very difficult place to play. I think the Inter in their own stadium against a slightly worse version of our defense still didn't even create as many opportunities as they could have.
Yep.
And I think that they may get like another goal from outside of the box like they did this last time around. But their crowd is not going to be around to hype them up. I think 2-1 Barca.
I think it's going to be tougher than you think playing in Italy, going to Madrid, and then having to host Inter back to back to back.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with 1-1 on this one. 1-1 or 2-2. Yeah. I don't think anybody wins. I think Barca's going to treat it as we need to get points, but not max points. And then Inter's going to treat it as like, well, we're away. We already beat them. So it's going to be kind of a stalemate like that. And I think both teams are going to be reactive. If Inter score first, Barca's going to push. If Barca score first, Inter's going to push. But it's not going to be like taking significant chances going forward, like switching your formation to like a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, which is not going to happen. I mean, if it was the last game of the group stage to define who goes through, or if you finish first or second in the group, then yeah, I could see a more open game. But I think Barca's going to dominate possession. Inter's going to sit back. They're going to have their chances. They're going to get a goal off of like a set piece or like long distance, and then you guys are going to probably have more chances, but it's not going to be anything crazy. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree, and I will say I think Kessie needs to start this game. I think it was honestly kind of shameful from Xavi, and I'm a big believer of Xavi ball, but I think at some point you need to understand that Pedri and Gavi are as great on the ball as they are inexperienced. I think you can't underestimate Europe. Europe brings out that experience in a really big way, and for those who don't have it, you get exploited. I will say that meme of Bastoni dragging Gavi, that like. It didn't happen like all game, but Kessie would never let that shit happen. And I think the experience that he has against a team like Inter coming from the Serie A last season, you just can't ignore it. Why did we bring him over if it wasn't for these games? So I think he needs to be starting over Gavi, in my opinion, coming into that fixture. I would also start Frankie over Busquets because I just think that you need more speed than what he has. Now, finally, Sporting versus Marseille. Sporting got a red card at a very inopportune time in the last leg. They were up 1-0 actually, and then after the red card, the floodgates opened for Marseille and they won 4-1. So this time around, they're playing in Portugal in front of a crowd that, for whatever reason, I can't remember what it was, but at Marseille they weren't in front of a home crowd. There was no crowd; it was closed doors for whatever reason. So for Sporting, well, how about this? You give me your prediction and I'll follow it up.
Ooh.
Give me some picks. Sporting, I believe, is still top of the group, or Marseille could be up there now. Let me see.
I think they're either tied or 1 and 2.
No. So believe it or not, Marseille is actually still at the bottom, narrowly.
Shit.
But it's Sporting, Spurs, Frankfurt, Marseille.
I think another
Sporting
tie.
only one with positive goal difference. Okay.
I think they tie 1-1 or 2-2. I think the red card defined everything in the game.
I do too. I actually think Sporting win this one. I actually think Sporting at home are kind of crazy to play against, and Portugal is just a crazy hostile environment to play in anyway. So I think Sporting find enough to make this out 2-0 in my opinion.
Okay.
Yep. And then finally, Spurs, Frankfurt, which ended 0-0 in Germany.
I know,
bro,
very disappointing.
I feel like Conte really doesn't give a shit about Europe. I know, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
They were the only British side to not win in the entire Champions League, Europa League, Europa. What is it called? The Conference League, and
the Conference League,
all the 3 European leagues.
Only English team not winning. Yeah,
0-0.
It's fucking sad, bro.
I know.
Spursy #Spursy things. All right.
Spursy. What do you think?
I think
in London.
This would be the game they're going to win if it's going to happen. If it's going to happen in Champions League, this is going to be the game they win. So maybe it's some reverse psychology here. Maybe it'll jinx them. I'm going to say 1-0 Spurs, but it's really just that. I think they're so okay with just like sitting back, man. It's honestly, I could never be a Spurs fan, or at least not a Conte fan. I can't watch play like that. It's just so boring. I just can't. But anyway, 1-0.
I'm going to. I know you wanted to reverse psychology the shit out of that, and I'm going to say Frankfurt win 1-0 away.
Bro, you ruined it. Either way, though, I think that they need a whole lot more to be a lethal team.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to see them in Europa League, and maybe that's a little more suited for them. I don't know. I mean, Europa League is not necessarily like an indictment of any team. Like playing in Europe is always playing in Europe, but like a team that's top 3 in the Prem should be in the Champions League. And
I agree.
It's crazy. I feel like their group was not necessarily like the greatest group or the worst group even, but like just a solid group that they should be getting out of. They should be advancing from. And the fact that like Sporting is very clear cut the favorite in that group says a lot. Says everything you need to know about Spurs. But anyway, we'll see. But no matter what, bro, we are up on time. Andre, this is a great episode, bro. I know it's just me and you. We'll get Alina back in here for the next episode. Really pumped about that. And guys, I believe on the next one too.
Got to talk about FIFA 23, bro. Next time
FIFA 23, we will bring it around. I do want, so Alina offered some takes on that, but they have made some changes to the game. Well, slight changes to like the meta and the gameplay, and they will continue to iterate on it. I'm sure EA will. But yeah, we'll continue to get more of all of our takes on the next episode. We will be getting finally, because we had to reschedule a couple different times, Maxwell Clark up on the next episode as well. He'll be joining us. He's a big United fan, so we control. I'm all about it. And I think that no matter what, man, we're going to keep covering, and I will say in a little bigger fashion, keep covering our favorite clubs, our favorite teams, while we can continue to cover just the world globally of soccer and football. So, guys, if you haven't already, please do so. Please subscribe, like the video, comment down below. Let us know what parts you liked, didn't like. We're open to all of it. And then most importantly, guys, this episode can be found on YouTube as well as GOLZtv. GOLZ, where you find your unlimited free soccer content all day, every day. Guys, you don't even need an account to check it out. You simply log on to GOLZtv, hit the link to open the catalog up, and you're there. A ton of free soccer content for anybody to consume. So, guys, it was great. Andre, this was great. Looking forward to the next one. Take care, guys. We'll see you.